there's a few people out there, and this is one of the great studies was from an economist named Paul Samuelson, right, in the 70s. And this is really what started the shift into index funds. He did a study that went back 100 years, all the way to the earliest days of record keeping, right? He studied every mutual fund out there since the 1920s, all the stock recommendations since the 1890s, right? And he came to the conclusion, he goes, okay, maybe there were a few people who can outperform the S&P, but they remain remarkably well hidden. He couldn't find any. This is like he won a Nobel Prize, the guy, for this, right? So that was really the beginning. That was like the shot across the bow. Now, Wall Street did everything they could to suppress this. So the first guy to try this was Jack Bogle from Vanguard.
Yeah.
Vanguard, right? So Vanguard's a place, great place where you could buy the best index funds with virtually no expenses. So I strongly recommend Vanguard, right? And there's a few others as well, but Jack Bogle was the first, right? But when he started Vanguard, Wall Street went out on the ultimate smear campaign for like a decade, suppressing everything about index funds, saying it's the stupidest thing. Who wants to be average? Dreyfus, which is a huge mutual fund company, said, no fees, no way. Like actually in the Wall Street Journal, full page, it's like, if you don't, that was marketed to the people who were the gatekeepers to investors. So if they're not, because Vanguard doesn't pay fees, right? So if they won't pay you fees, don't put your clients in their funds. Instead, put them in our high commission funds. We'll pay you a lot of money. So for many, many years, Vanguard languished and was suppressed, right? It finally got traction after the crash in 87. For the first time, all of a sudden, the mirage evaporated when everyone lost a lot of money. And for the first time, Vanguard started to get a fair shake in the market. And then slowly but surely, they started to grow and grow. And then as the internet came about and the high-speed connections and platforms for direct communications with customers, it suddenly became a mass exodus out of this, sort of high-expense mutual funds, right? Which I think that Bogle saved the public probably a few $100 billion by now in fees. Mutual funds were ripping people's eyeballs out forever. Now they still do crappy. Their performance is crappy compared to the S&P 500, but for years and years, they're just ripping the public's eyeballs. That was the most lucrative industry out there. And Wall Street just spent, countless hundreds of millions on advertising campaigns and whatnot, right, to make people think this is the way to go.